I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be
yeah.
saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
In the glitzy world of Hollywood, where glamour meets cutthroat competition, a shocking moment unfolded that no one saw coming. Jenna Ortega, the rising star with a fierce reputation, delivered a stunning blow to the seasoned Gal Gadot, leaving fans gasping. What could have prompted such a dramatic showdown between these two powerhouse actresses? Snow White's twisted tale cursed by controversy. The upcoming Snow White reboot is anything but a fairy tale. What should have been a high-profile remake of a beloved classic has turned into a real-life saga of tension and controversy, starring none other than Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot. Zegler taking on the iconic role of Snow White, and Gadot stepping into the shoes of the evil queen have clashed in ways that go beyond any script. The source of their conflict? Not a magical mirror or jealousy over beauty, but a divisive issue on the world stage, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. As if the movie wasn't already under enough scrutiny, with some fans upset over casting choices and the modernized storyline, the discord between these two leading ladies has now thrust the production into an even more intense spotlight. Critics and fans alike are speculating on how this personal feud will impact the film, and some branding experts are even predicting a boycott might be on the horizon. So what's really happening here? And how did a Disney reboot become the focal point of such a deep-rooted debate? But here's the kicker. It wasn't just any disagreement, it was a clash that flared up in public. When the teaser trailer for Snow White dropped earlier this month, instead of focusing on the magical visuals or the updated narrative, people zeroed in on Zegler's and Gadot's apparent feud. Both actresses took different stances in public, stirring up fans and critics alike. For some, Zegler's outspoken support of Palestine was seen as a direct critique of her Israeli co-star Gadot, whose pride in her heritage is no secret. With the world already watching the ongoing Israeli-Palestinian conflict with intense emotions, this split between two leading actresses touched a nerve for many fans. Suddenly, people weren't just excited to see Disney's classic come to life, they were dissecting every social media post, every interview, and every subtle statement from the cast. Adding fuel to the fire, Zegler took to her social media shortly after the trailer release, posting a message that's been described as both heartfelt and controversial. Her pro-Palestinian message, posted on X, racked up over 250,000 views within hours, drawing in reactions from all sides. The timing couldn't have been more controversial, just days after Disney released the first trailer for the highly anticipated Snow White remake. As Zegler shared her thoughts, her words stirred a fierce divide. Her tweet started with a thank you to her fans. "I love you all so much. Thank you for the love and for 120 M views on our trailer in just 24 hours. What a whirlwind. I am in the thick of rehearsals for Romeo plus Juliet, so I'm gonna get out of here. Bye for now." In a separate post, she added, "And always remember, free Palestine." It was a statement bold enough to spark reactions worldwide, with supporters cheering her for standing up for Palestine and critics condemning her for speaking against Gadot's background. Some comments showed pride in Zegler's stance, while others sided with Gadot, even warning that Zegler's remarks might alienate her co-star. But as expected, Zegler has not backed down, despite sharing the screen with Gadot and knowing full well the backlash that would come her way. Here's where it gets even more complex. This wasn't the first time Zegler had spoken out. She's long been vocal about her support for Palestine, especially during moments of heightened conflict. Even before this recent controversy, she took to social media in 2021 to say it will always be free Palestine, and posted similar messages on Instagram calling for an end to violence and advocating for Palestinian human rights. Her fans have come to expect her outspoken stance, but now with the world's spotlight on her upcoming role in Snow White, every word she says carries heavier consequences. So how does this ongoing political discourse play out behind the scenes? Conflict in the spotlight. As the comments poured in, Zegler continued to be a focal point of support for Palestinian rights, contrasting sharply with Gadot's silence on the matter. Yet it's not just about the tweets or public opinion. Zegler's choice of words is making waves behind the scenes, too. Fans and insiders alike can't help but notice the tension between her and Gadot during press events for the film. Reportedly, Gadot has kept her distance, not directly addressing Zegler's statements, but maintaining a visibly strained relationship in joint appearances. In what should have been a standard movie promotion, every shared stage between them now holds a palpable tension that's hard to ignore. And here's the big question. Can Zegler and Gadot's professional partnership survive such intense ideological divides? With Zegler's fierce pro-Palestinian advocacy and Gadot's close ties to her Israeli heritage, the two seem to embody opposing symbols in a global debate that's hard to avoid. Fans have noticed how little they interact, and it's left many wondering, will this feud cast a shadow over Disney's modern take on Snow White? Or will audiences manage to separate the stars from their stances? Just days after she and co-star Gal Gadot appeared together at Disney's D23 fan event to promote the film, Zegler posted a story urging her followers to go beyond social media activism, calling for a ceasefire and sharing a link to donate emergency aid for Gaza. The post, while passionate, instantly polarized audiences, pulling both fans and critics into heated debates. Gadot's pro-Israel stance has been no secret. In fact, during the 2014 Gaza war, she posted a photo on Facebook of herself and her daughter praying for Israeli soldiers, showing her solidarity with her homeland. And while Gadot's approach to the current situation has been measured, her stance has remained clear, reinforcing her unwavering support for Israel, especially in times of crisis. Her views were brought into sharp focus following the tragic October 7th attacks, prompting Gadot to organize a screening of the film Bearing Witness, which features raw footage from the recent violence. Now, Zegler's pro-Palestinian posts have sparked allegations of anti-Semitism from some critics who accuse her of alienating Jewish and pro-Israel fans. Online accounts have weighed in, calling Zegler's activism problematic and suggesting audiences avoid Snow White altogether. Meanwhile, Zegler's vocal supporters have come out in full force expressing admiration for her stance and calling for a boycott of the movie on the opposite grounds, criticizing Gadot's presence in the film instead. What makes this situation even more charged is that neither Zegler nor Gadot has directly addressed each other's political statements or their respective controversies. The apparent tension between the two is felt heavily by fans who scrutinize every interaction, or lack thereof, between them. During the D23 event, Zegler and Gadot appeared cordial, but online critics and fans alike have pointed out that the co-stars often keep a noticeable distance in joint appearances. Adding further to the intrigue, after the release of the Snow White trailer, Gadot took to Instagram and shared a Martin Luther King Jr. quote, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that." Gadot added, "Only love can truly save the world." It seemed like a call for unity, but was this also a subtle dig at Zegler? Fans couldn't help but speculate. Gadot's comment is hard to separate from the ongoing tension between her and her co-star, leaving everyone to wonder if her words carried a hidden message for Zegler or her supporters. But how does this cryptic message fit into the larger narrative unfolding between the two actresses? Behind the curtain of controversy. As public figures, both actresses are aware that their political stances carry weight and influence, especially in a film as high-profile as Snow White. Zegler's decision to openly endorse a ceasefire and criticize her own government's response in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is a bold move that has simultaneously endeared her to some and distanced her from others. On the other hand, Gadot's stance, which is more defensive of Israel, reflects her background but has also brought in calls for boycott. In 2021, as tensions escalated, she posted about her deep-seated hope for coexistence, praying for peace and an end to the violence. Her words were cautious, acknowledging her sympathy for both sides of the conflict while still standing firmly with Israel. Some fans found Gadot's message compassionate, while others criticized her for not going far enough to address the complex issues at hand.
Fast forward to the 2023 conflict, and her support for Israel only intensified. She voiced her concerns for Israeli hostages held by Hamas and signed an open letter to President Biden calling for action. And then there was that tweet. According to Times of Israel reporter Amy Spiro, whoever is in charge of Gal's Twitter account briefly retweeted a tweet and then swiftly deleted it.
Trying to campaign on the head of your co-star who actually lives through war just so you'll look cooler with kids is really pathetic. It seemed to take an aim, though subtly, at Zegler. Was this an accidental misstep by her social media team, or perhaps a fleeting, emotionally charged moment from Gadot herself? No one knows for sure, but the timing couldn't have been more suspect. Despite their different approaches, the divide between Zegler and Gadot has turned what should have been a simple film promotion into a highly politicized controversy. Zegler's more provocative social media posts, combined with her influence as a young Hollywood star, have made her the target of both admiration and outrage, showing just how deeply polarized audiences can be. Gadot, meanwhile, maintains a different kind of visibility. Her responses to the crisis are deliberate and personal, but never directly confrontational toward her co-star. The tension between Zegler and Gadot speaks to larger societal issues where public figures find themselves either championed or canceled based on their stances on divisive issues. As the release of Snow White approaches, Disney faces an interesting dilemma. The company, known for maintaining a family-friendly image, now finds its latest project entangled in one of the world's most complex political conflicts, with both its stars holding vastly different outspoken opinions. Will Disney step in to smooth things over, or will it let Zegler and Gadot's personal convictions play out? As audiences eagerly await Snow White, this unexpected tension between the two stars has added layers of intrigue to a story that's usually just about a fairy tale princess. Fans on both sides wonder if the clash of opinions will affect their on-screen chemistry. Some are already speculating about Disney's response, wondering if it will address the controversy head-on or take a hands-off approach. The stakes are high for everyone involved, and with each new social media post, the tension only grows. And here's where it gets even murkier. Fans have been quick to pick sides. Some are praising Zegler for using her platform to support a cause she believes in, while others view her stance as a dig at Gadot's nationality and her own vocal pride in her Israeli roots. Meanwhile, pro-Israel viewers have questioned the appropriateness of casting Gadot as an evil character. The deeper people dig, the more they seem to find reasons to dissect and debate this production. How do these divided fan opinions reflect the larger challenges Disney faces in today's cultural landscape? Disney's high-stakes drama. Beyond the social media drama, there's an even more complex web of issues at play. Disney's decision to cast Zegler, a Latina actress, as Snow White was controversial from the start, with some fans arguing that it doesn't align with the character's fair-skinned origins in the classic tale. Combine that with the fact that Gadot, a prominent Israeli actress, was cast as the villain in the story, and it's easy to see why emotions are running high. Now we're in uncharted waters where a Disney casting choice is stirring discussions about representation, heritage, and political tension on a global scale. But why does this feud between Zegler and Gadot feel so impactful? It's not just about differing political views. For some fans, this disagreement feels almost symbolic, a battle between ideologies, between different takes on justice and identity. Zegler's consistent pro-Palestinian messaging, including her support for aid to Gaza, contrasts sharply with Gadot's more reserved but patriotic approach. Some Israeli media outlets have even gone as far as to accuse Zegler of indirectly insulting Gadot with her posts. Disney has remained silent on the issue so far, but they can't ignore the growing divide among fans. The studio now finds itself caught between two passionate groups of viewers, each with deeply held convictions, each seeing the casting decisions as more than just entertainment. Fans who are excited for the film are now hesitating, caught between their love for Disney and the social and political issues that are now inseparable from the production. Behind the scenes, the conflict has made promotion efforts difficult. Where normally actors would join hands to market their film, Zegler and Gadot's feud has cast a shadow that's hard to ignore. This wasn't the sort of publicity Disney had in mind, but the world's eyes are now glued to this movie for reasons that have little to do with the magic of the story. It's no longer just about Snow White, it's about where people stand, what values they hold, and the personal beliefs of the stars who play these iconic roles. But here's the big question that's left hanging. Can Snow White be more than just a flashpoint for controversy? Will audiences be able to separate the fairy tale from the feud, or will the drama off-screen forever overshadow the story?
With Zegler and Gadot representing more than just Snow White and her evil queen, they're now symbols in a debate far bigger than Hollywood. This reboot has already made history, just not the kind Disney might have intended. How does Zegler's bold reinterpretation challenge the traditions we've come to expect from fairy tales? Zegler's bold take on tradition. Rachel Zegler's role as the lead in Disney's upcoming Snow White remake was supposed to be the chance of a lifetime, but controversy has followed her every step. Despite Disney's attempts to sidestep hot-button issues, Zegler's outspoken views, especially regarding her critique of the original Snow White, have stirred up quite the storm. Some might say it's a risky move to voice such strong opinions when your co-star Gal Gadot is a former Israeli Defense Forces soldier and staunch supporter of Israel. Yet Zegler hasn't held back, even as her comments about the classic fairy tale have ruffled feathers across generations of Snow White fans. She's clearly no fan of the 1937 classic either, as she's referred to the original storyline as weird and even labeled the prince character a stalker. Her comments, initially sparked by a few resurfaced interviews from 2022, only continued to snowball, leading Disney to delay the movie's release by a full year for damage control. Meanwhile, Zegler's ambition to make her Snow White a progressive heroine has drawn mixed reactions, from applause for her boldness to criticism, branding her a fake feminist, and even gaslighting. Despite Disney's investment of a staggering $330 million and their attempt to avoid controversy, Zegler's outspoken personality may have only amplified it. By declaring that her character won't be saved by a prince, she's not only taken a swipe at the beloved original, but also given a fresh target for critics who accuse her of virtue signaling. And when she joked at the D23 Disney Expo that her co-star Andrew Burnap's scenes could all be cut, it almost seemed like a mockery of traditional expectations, though some fans saw it as a refreshing, self-aware nod to Hollywood's obsession with predictable love stories. The irony here is hard to ignore. While Zegler is set on remaking Snow White for the modern age, Disney itself is scrambling to adjust to an audience divided between new values and nostalgic love for their classic fairy tales. The criticism isn't just coming from the usual social media channels either. It's even prompted a marketing consultant to warn Disney that this bold new take on Snow White could backfire if not handled with caution. And for all of Zegler's criticism of the original film, her own memories of Snow White aren't fond ones. She confessed to being terrified by the movie as a child and described her visit to the Snow White Scary Adventures ride at Disney World as anything but enchanting. What's more, Disney's changes extend beyond just Zegler's interpretation. The traditional seven dwarves have been replaced with CGI versions closer to the original movie's look, an attempt at avoiding the backlash that surfaced earlier when images of a diverse group of dwarves made the rounds online. Disney appears to be caught in a tug-of-war between progress and tradition, and Zegler's involvement has only made the stakes higher. Even with all the talk of woke updates, will the public embrace this revamped Snow White, or will it just be another high-budget misfire for Disney? The tension surrounding the Snow White reboot has transformed it into a focal point of societal debate, drawing attention to the clash between artistic vision and personal beliefs. As Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot navigate this complex landscape, the film's future remains uncertain. With passionate opinions on both sides, the ultimate impact of this controversy on the movie's success will be closely watched as it approaches its release. Will this ambitious take on a classic fairy tale succeed, or will it become yet another casualty in Disney's quest for relevance? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more explosive content. Stay tuned for the next big story.